Hey, what's up, everybody? Ryan here with another talking point of the day. Today I wanted to talk about nature. I wanted to talk about going outside, what I've been doing here in Colorado, and enjoying the mountains here, and a couple of topics actually, since obviously I deal with helping people find vitality in their physical body, or mentality or spirituality as well, nutrition, all the above. I want to talk about some of the science behind being outside as well, why it's important, number one, what the science has found, if you've heard of forest bathing, and we're going to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty of why it's good for us to be out in the sun, be out in nature, be out in the earth, feeling the earth medium, the earth, what's the word I'm looking for? Earth, wind, fire, element on our body, right? Feeling the groundedness of that element on our body. So, number one, I'm in Colorado now. I'm living in Denver. I love it here. It's so much fun being able to go outside and go to the mountains and beautiful blue skies. I completely do love living here so much. I just went hiking today. I went hiking yesterday as well. And there's just so many things to do. People love being outdoors here. People love skiing, people love hiking, mountain biking, fishing, water skiing, snowshoeing, fly fishing, horse riding. Like, there's literally so many things to do, and everybody loves being active here, which I love as well. So getting right into it, why is it good? Why is it important to go outside? Well, I'm gonna ask you this, if you're watching this through the camera, through the video, why is it important to go outside for you? That differs for so many people. People find it very nice because it's silencing, because it's a way to escape our technological advanced world of phones ringing, computers emailing, this is ringing, Zoom calls. I'm inside all day. Now I'm staying in home and working, right? Luckily, I don't have to do that, but a lot of people do. That's probably the majority. If you have a job, some people don't even have a job right now. But anyways, it's a time to escape. It's a time to go outside. It's a time to connect with yourself, with your thoughts, and kind of just let your mind empty itself, because we don't give ourselves a lot of that time during the day. We don't allow ourselves that time, especially when we're inside constantly just doing things, right? We all fall into that trap. I've definitely fallen into that trap where sometimes, man, I'll be trying to read, and it's usually like when I'm reading, my phone just starts going off and off and off, and I feel it in my brain. It's like, look at your phone, Ryan. And I'm just like trying to read my book. I'm like, man, like my phone, and I put it right next to me too, and I don't look at it most of the time, but I hear it, and it texts, and then whenever I get a text, it double rings, like 2 minutes later, if I haven't opened my phone, it goes again. I'm like, I'm just gonna look at it later. And that literally just happened earlier. Like I was in the bathroom listening to a podcast, shaving my beard, trimming my beard. I know it looks good right now. And anyways, I got a couple text messages, and I was like, you know what? I'm done reading that. Like, I'm done replying. I'm done reacting, right? Like, I want to be able to enjoy my evening. It's a Monday evening. I have Mondays off, so this is my Sunday evening. I want to be able to enjoy my evening and read books and relax, wind down, eat some great food, maybe watch a movie, read a book, whatever it is, make a video, right? I love doing these things. Making these videos gives me so much energy and just youthfulness, because I feel alive and being able to express myself and talk about things that I care about, which is awesome. So we get to escape in nature, right? That's what I mentioned, it's what we talked about. Now, you're also outside in the sun and the vitamin D. If the sun's out, even if the clouds are out, you're still outside getting some fresh air. And that kind of brings us into number two. So we talked about why it's important. I feel like we just literally went over one reason, but there's so many different reasons, and the reasons are different for other people, or for everybody, right? Some people may have more connection with nature, or may have a favorite walk that they do, or maybe they talk to someone while they walk on the phone or in person, or listen to a podcast, whatever it is, right? So number two now is why, what do we actually gain from it? And then what is kind of getting into the science from it? Why, we talked about why is it important, but what's actually happening while we're out there? So we all know what vitamin D is. Got to get more vitamin D, right? Everybody, the vitamin D this, everybody's deficient in this. I'm pretty sure half people don't even know that. is 70% of Americans and probably the world, at least in developed countries, I would say, are vitamin D deficient. Well, the main source of vitamin D production is us, and that's us in relation to the sun. The sun shines on our skin, the keratin, I don't even remember, carotenoids in our skin react and produce vitamin D in our body, and that gets utilized and stored in our body for, I think vitamin D deals with like 3,000 functions, and really, I love how science says that, but really that's probably not even true. It's probably a lot more. We probably only know of 3,000 functions and really only know about like 10 of those. So like 0.03% of those, we actually know what happens. So that's the beauty of that alone, of that we're getting outside, right? We're producing this vitamin, this compound that we call vitamin D that we don't even completely understand, that we do know by our science that we only have now. Keep in mind, nutrition and physiological science has changed drastically in the last 30 years. Imagine what it's going to show 30 years from now. We know that vitamin D is essential for us, that it regulates over 3,000. It's a master regulator of over 3,000 expressions of that molecule in our body for benefits. And we know for a fact that it deals with the telomeres on our DNA. Our DNA, right? We all know what that is, the helix. What is it? Something nucleic acid, whatever it is. Anyways, it's the DNA, right? And we have these two ends. Like imagine the DNA strand, there's these two caps on the end. And they're rubber, or they're like a fatty material. And that's what telomeres are. The more that telomeres get shortened, which is what aging, part of aging is, right? Even aging is not even fully understood, nor do I think it ever will be. But anyways, they've seen that as our our biological age increases, telomere length decreases. The ends of the DNA are getting shorter, and DNA damage is more likely to occur once and if the telomeres are shortening at a certain rate, right? So anyways, we know that vitamin D prolongs and builds, makes the telomeres more robust, more resilient to shortening to aging. That right there is extremely important, extremely cool in my opinion. So we've only talked about the sun so far, right? Getting out in the sun, producing vitamin D, feeling good. Right, this is just one thing that we know about the sun. There's probably, like I said with the science, probably 13 million thousand quadrillion other things going on with the sun being on our skin, right? Maybe in our eyes, on our hair, right? There's so many things that are just magical and so misunderstood and not understood by science yet, which is why I personally love it, because it's such a evolving and exciting and mysterious and magical science. Our body, right? Our body in relation to the environment, our body in relation to the world, to the earth, to the universe, that God, whatever you want to say, created. I just think it's so interesting that we exist in this world, this microcosm of the world, and our body relates to it in so many more ways that we could ever understand. But you have to look inside of yourself to realize what actually works and what feels good. We can build off of the science that we have now to allow ourselves to do beneficial things, right? We know what drinking water will do versus drinking Coke. We know what going outside 10 minutes a day versus not will do, right? So there are certain things that we have figured out and we know inherently are good for us. And I think it's so cool and magical that we do these things, but there's probably a lot more going on than we give it credit to. So anyways, I mentioned forest bathing at the beginning of the video. So what forest bathing is, if you've never heard of it, forest bathing is actually like a phenomenon that this term really got started about 3 to 5 years ago, and it's about going out in a forest, and they call it bathing because you're in the oxygen, right? You're in that oxygen-rich environment with all those trees, the smells, even getting into like electromagnetic fields of the earth, of the grounding electromagnetic field of the earth, right? Of the trees, of the animals. The wind is on your body, right? You're literally bathing in that oxygen-rich environment, resetting your own electromagnetic field of your body, of your brain, of your heart. Your heart is the biggest. It goes out to like 6 to 8 feet. Listen to Paul Chek on this. He is beautiful and great at explaining this, how he's done, I forget what it's called, I forget the actual term, but he has like a dowel rod and he wets it, and he can go and sense your, actually measure your electromagnetic field. And because the water with the rod, right, it's something with a line into your field, so you enter a certain range away from someone, let's say 30 to 40 feet, it starts moving something, right? Refer to him, he knows a lot more about it, but I've heard about it, and it's very interesting how he would tell them to start to feel different emotions, and if they were feeling an emotion of anger, hate, negativity, destroying, anything that's kind of dampering, right? Really just not a good feeling, that field would have shortened a lot, and that dowel wouldn't read it, he'd have to get really close. Now he'd step far away and say, I want you to think about love, gratitude, joy, peace, wonder, amazement, fertility, abundance, prosperity, right? And that field would just start to expand, that dowel would shoot up from 50, 60 feet away. And that right there, I thought was beautiful, because you're able to start to realize the effect that you have on people and the effect that you have on your environment. So relating it to forest bathing, right? Well, first, actually, I'll go into the forest bathing. I want to ask you a question. So think about a time where maybe you see someone walking down the hall and you haven't even said anything to them. You don't even know who they are. You might not even see their face. They might be wearing sunglasses, but you know how they feel just by the way their body, whatever you want to say it is, body language, the way they're walking, how fast, right? Sometimes you look at someone and you're just like, damn, that person's pissed. Like, this person, he might even say something to me, right? Sometimes you look at someone, the way they're walking, the way they're moving, hey, that person is happy, right? I like that person. You don't even know who they are. You're like, I like how that person's walking. That person just looks like a good person, looks like a happy person, a nice person, a caring person, a feeling person, right? And I think part of that is the body language, part of that is how fast, how tall they are, right? But there's a part of it relating on what I said earlier about our science, right? There's so much that we don't know, and I think it's something to look into, knowing that if there are experiments that have been going on, right, that are in the literature, or that people have done, right, and they can sense the electromagnetic field of the heart, of emotion changing, I think that has something to do with it, right? That may have something to do with it. That's the way I'll say that. So you leave it up to however you want to understand that, but I think it's a cool subject, a cool opportunity to look at things a little bit differently. Now on to forest bathing. So if we're talking about going out in the forest, right, and you're out in the forest and you're walking around trees, you're walking around rocks, and you're not in your house, you're not around these huge radio towers, you're not around this computer all day, and now you're out in the forest, that electromagnetic field is going to be affected differently if you're literally out in the middle of nowhere, because you don't have any cell signal bombarding you all the time, you don't have any Wi-Fi, no microwave near you. Not to say that those things are bad or horrible. I love having a microwave. I love having a cell phone and Wi-Fi. But the reason people have gotten into forest bathing recently is because you really do feel a difference when you merge your magnetic field, your own resonance, with the resonance of the earth, right? There's even a whole subsection, a whole following, or not a following because it makes it sound like a cult, like a whole way of life, right? A way of approaching something called grounding. And I actually did this a lot whenever I lived at home, and I had a backyard at my parents' house. So I would go outside like 4 or 5 times a day, especially in the summer. It felt great for like only to be out there for 3 minutes because it was hot. I lived in Dallas, Texas, so it was pretty hot. And I'd go outside and just stand in the grass, like literally stand on the grass and feel like the dirt beneath my feet. And I actually did these like Tony Robbins priming, these Tony Robbins state changes where I'd like move my arms and like just get like my blood flowing, my oxygen, my lungs expanding, closing, because I was doing online school a lot and I was just sitting inside air conditioned for 3 hours at a time. And every hour and a half, just about every hour, I'd go outside, do a 2-minute state change, and I'd come back in ready to rumble. I'd fly through that thing. If I had any stagnation in my mind on a homework or on thinking about what to do, I was clear, baby. Let's go. I know what to do. I'm gonna freaking do it. I 100% focus, no distractions, right? So that's why I love that. I think part of that was the priming. another part that I loved doing, I did some double trouble, was I also grounded myself while doing that. I would stand on the earth. I'd let every time you take a step on grass, right? I heard this from Paul Chek too recently. But I always knew this part was there's literally millions, probably even billions of little bacteria and just little microorganisms in every single blade of grass, right? And then you're stepping on 100 blades of grass with each foot rather. I actually saw that in Cosmos. I watched Cosmos, the one with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think season 3 might be out. But anyways, they talked about when in one dew droplet, right? Oh my gosh. I thought about this every day, especially I'd do it in the morning when the grass was wet. On one dew droplet on a blade of grass, they talked about all these little organisms. They showed them, it was like these pink things that looked like little naked romats. I forget what they're called, mole rats, and they were like Terra something, but they were one of the oldest species on Earth, and they were able to survive really anywhere. That's why they've survived this long. But anyways, there was millions of those in every single droplet on each blade of grass, right? Imagine a whole field and each little droplet. So my point is here, I step in the grass, right? I'm allowing that bacteria to get on my feet, to get my feet dirty, right? We are 70% bacteria. I think we have 10 times as many bacterial cells as we do human somatic cells. So really, by cellular count, we're more bacteria than we are human, which is crazy. I actually saw something recently where they changed the number, but I still know it's more bacteria than it is human. So anyways, on that topic, I'm grounding with the earth, right? Electromagnetic fields, we talked about that, the earth. It just feels good to get grounded, to put your feet in the grass, put your feet in the earth. It's a good reset button. There's a lot more science into it, a lot more just feeling into it. Like I mentioned, we only know so much as a science now, especially Western science that is very logical. It probably, as you're watching this now, you might be feeling a little bit of part of you is like, what the hell is this guy saying, right? You might be asking yourself that. And the reason I'm so open about it is because we really don't know shit. I love science. I'm very science-based, especially with what I do day to day, right? I will go by the science and I will measure my progress, but I also do know that the science doesn't know everything, nor do I, right? The more you know that you don't know. If you think you know everything, you know nothing. I think it goes along with that. There are some things, right? I'm not going to say, oh, I'm out there levitating, right? Like there's certain boundaries that I'll go by, of course. But it's very interesting to experiment and figure out just what works, what feels good. You know, you have to go by feeling a lot of the time. Back to forest bathing, right? So you're in the forest, you're breathing in that clean air, that clean oxygen. That's the next part. You're literally breathing in a cleaner air, more oxygen content per breath, less, whatever's in the air, carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, or even ozone, right? O3, I believe ozone is. Just less things that are less pollutants in the air when you're out in nature. I'm sure that makes sense for everybody. So that is another thing, right? What you're actually getting in your lungs. You're walking, you're moving, you're going for a walk, you're breathing in more because you're walking, because you're lightly exercising. So you're getting more oxygen, more use out of your body, more blood flow. Overall, just going outside, so many great things are happening. And this is what I mentioned in the beginning. This is the way I think about it whenever I'm like, oh, why do I like this so much? I love relating the physiological and psychological and even spiritual meanings to going outside and why I love it. You're able to connect with nature, connect with yourself, forest bathing, electromagnetic fields. Maybe you go with friends when you do it because you want to be safe. Well, guess what? Now you're connecting with friends, you're conversating. Usually when you go outside, you're outside for 3 hours. So it's 3 hours off your phone with a friend outside in the sun. Like there's just so many good things about it, right? Which is awesome. And that's why I love going outside, and especially living in the mountains where not only am I getting those effects where you can get those anywhere or similar places, but even yesterday and today I went hiking, and it's just one of those times where it's a moment with myself, but it's also a moment with the creator, with my creator, with God. universe. And being able to stop and look at the mountains, and you just see how big and powerful and majestic and massive they are, and extravagant, and just they're so amazing and so fantastic and so beautiful to look at, because every time I look at them, I'm just like, wow. I kind of just stop and I just stare. Like, think back to a time where maybe you were doing something on the phone with someone in the middle of an athletic event, you're driving a car, you're doing some homework, you're reading a book, and you just had that moment where things slow down, where maybe it's what someone said, what someone did, what you saw, what you felt, what you read, and it was one of those magical moments, one of those sacred moments where you just kind of slow down. You're like, wow. You realize it was a realization moment, an epiphany. Think about a time you've had an epiphany, right? And that's what happens. That's what I'm blessed to receive, blessed to experience every time I look at the mountains. It's just like, it just breaks me out of everything that I'm thinking, and I just look at the mountains. I'm like, that is so majestic and powerful and awesome, right? It looks great. It's so beautiful to look at, and it's just a great reminder of where we all get to live in the world, and where I get to see this endeavor, and why I like going hiking. And it's fun being able to experience that and kind of take yourself out of your own life. I think this is the last benefit I'll go over, and one of the biggest, frankly, is being able to take yourself out of your own head, take yourself out of your own life, your own beliefs for an hour or two a week, and kind of reset everything, a reset button and a recalibration, right? What do we need to do to our phone every day or every couple days before it goes dead or stops working how we want it to, right? We need to charge it. Well, this is an opportunity for me to charge myself, whether it's meditation at home or whether it's going outside, and I have all those other added benefits, right? And being able to see just trees, mountains, lakes, again, I love living in Denver, but anywhere in the world. It could be Texas, just looking at the trees, right? People joke about how flat it is. I joke about how flat it is now that I live here. You can do this anywhere. You can still find beauty in looking at a flower. And I think at being able to take yourself out of your own life, take yourself out of everything and in the moment and in that experience that you're having, is the ultimate and one of the most powerful experiences of being outside that you can get. You can even do this inside if we're being completely honest. Just being so in the moment, so present in something that you enjoy, and being able to completely experience that and allow everything to reset, fall off. And you're almost, I heard this the other day from a meditation podcast I was doing. He's like, allowing yourself, you're downloading now, right? We're constantly processing and constantly thinking and doing, but now, when was the last time you took a time to rest and took time to download? You took time to absorb, you took time to experience, to truly experience that, and nothing else going through your head. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things about going outside, and one of the most beautiful things I'm happy and blessed to live and experience in Denver, Colorado, and really anywhere I go. But wanted to share this with y'all. This is why I love going outside. There's so much more science involved, just in the activity and the experience of doing it, bonding with friends, et cetera, like I mentioned. Last thing I'm gonna show you, I bought a plant. This is actually what made me think about making this video. I was like, I bought a plant, dude. I'm gonna show them on the video. All right, here we go. So it's an aloe. Let me get a good view of it. It's an aloe cactus. And the guy who's at the plant store was really helpful. And he actually mentioned, he was like, yeah, I've been looking at this one for a long time. It was only 20 bucks. And speaking on the subject of the video, I wanted to get a plant in my house to add in more nature, to add in some nature to my house. There we go. So I wanted to add in some aspect of clean air, some aspect of like organic life in my house, and being able to just have something that I appreciate. I've always wanted one. And tangent, but one thing I love about reading books from successful people, or being able to go within yourself and look at things. I learned this from Tony Robbins, was hey, if you want something, or if you want a couple things, if you've always had goals, like you need to write them down, label how much you really want them on a scale 1 to 10, and what are you willing to do, what are you not willing to do, so you can actually like get real with yourself. But I wrote down like 5 things I've been wanting to do / give for myself recently, and the plant was a 9 out of 10. Every single other one was like 8.5, or there was a 7 where I thought it was a 9, but when I really got down to it, it was a 7 out of 10. I was like, I'm not doing that. Bought that plant, $20. That thing's brought me a lot of joy already. So being able to utilize the outdoors to bring yourself joy is another thing. But that'll be for another time. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Peace.